Hi friends, Annika here. What happens when you combine coloured pencils with water or watercolour? Well, today I'm testing Woomer Coloured Pencils against Prismacolor, and here's the twist. We're exploring 3 different aspects or techniques that could possibly completely spice up your art. Before we dive in, I want to be completely transparent. Woomer provided these coloured pencils to me free of charge for an honest review. They've also given me a discount code for you to purchase the pencils if you wish, and I may receive a small commission, but this won't in any way influence either your price or my feedback. They arrived well packaged, and I love the bright orange tin. Sometimes it's nice just to have it plain like this. Initially I took the wrapper off and didn't realize the swatching card was inside. I think that should be clearly labeled on the front. The tin feels sturdy and I can place the second layer of pencils in the lid. The pencils feel much the same as the Prismas, perhaps a little bit smoother on the outside. The barrel's comfortable in my hand and they feel pretty substantial, not too light. I'm a little intrigued by the organization of the colors, but I'm not bothered by it. The only thing that immediately comes to mind is just how difficult it is for me to read the label through the gold ink. Maybe it's just me and my eyes. I have to get the pencil at the perfect angle to see the printed name. The swatching card could have possibly been a little more pencil friendly, but it was okay enough to get the feel of the pencils. The waxy pencils felt extremely soft, the colours vibrant, and all in all worked just as well as the Prismas. The finished swatched card is a little large for the tin, so I had to trim it down, and now it's okay. I'm sure Woomer is taking on board all the reviews that have been made, and I feel that they're seeking genuine feedback. Woomer says the colours are lightfast. You can clearly see the rating on each pencil, but it does depend on how much lightfastness we need. I'd like to acknowledge Lily from Art Journey UK, who conducted extensive lightfastness testing on these pencils. If this is important to you, you can view her experiments and you'll find the link in the description below. Now for something a little unconventional, testing these pencils with water, as they are indeed waxy type pencils. We want these tips to be really sharp. Here's our Prisma, nice long point, and I'm going to make it sharper still by shaving some of the tip off. And now for the Woomer. Look at that long tip. They are so strong, and I'm shaving some of the tip off. Okay. Here I'm exploring the wax resist quality of the pencils, the blending of the colors, and water solubility, and comparing with Prismas. Pressing hard and putting 3 strokes there and doing the same here. The first thing I notice is that the Woomer white is a little bit warmer perhaps than the Prismacolor white. The Prisma is a little bit cooler with a teeny tinge of blue, but looks brighter on black. Let's go over with some color. So here I have an orange. Over those 3 lines, I am going to gently color in. And I have to make sure I do it the same for both sides. So you got to watch me on that one. I know these are meant to be wax pencils and not meant to be water soluble, so just bear with me. It's an interesting test anyway. Bit of blending there. And so this first exercise was also a little bit in the blending department, varying pressure. Yes, they blend beautifully. And now let's use the Prismas. So I'm using the orange that I have, a little bit lighter in color, and a bit of red. And now a little bit of this darker one, which is Tuscan Red by Prismacolor. There we go. I think you can agree they're slightly different colours, but they both blend beautifully. Now for something a little unconventional. Taking my brush, tapping it out gently, and I'm going to do this as fairly as possible on both sides. So once to the end, I've run out of water, tap, tap. And then again. Okay, do that first. So once to the end and back again. Once to the end and back again. Okay, what this test was meant to show was two things. The dissolution of the Woomers. They dissolve more in water than the Prismacolors do. Now, if you don't like your colours to dissolve, the Prismas are perfect. But if you like a bit of dissolution, look at the Woomers. Now, I went here once up and once down, once and once, to be a fair test. What we can also see here is that we can see the three lines, and here we can't. So now I'm just going to go over the three lines area again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like that. And it's even hard to see where they are here. So just 1 second. See, there's a big difference in this because I can't even really see where they are. I think they're here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, one's there, one's there. As you can see, what's happened here is that the wax resist has worked really well. And here, not so well. So now I'm going to, with a clean, damp brush, just wipe over that gently, look, like this. And look at the beautiful white that's revealed. Now I'm coming over to the Prisma, and actually I want to find it. So I'm rubbing over much harder, and I have now found the lines. But as you can see, I had to rub much harder on this one. If I was to rub that hard on this one, I'm nearly dissolving the pencil. The moral to this story is that I really love the wax resist of the white of the Woomer. Even though the Prismacolor works, it takes longer to get there. The water dissolution works way quicker on the Woomer than on the Prismacolor. And why would we need this? Well, for some special effects. And if I had a choice of two for the way I like to work, I like these because I can fade out the transitions between what I want and what I don't want. I will show you. So that's one thing. Let's do another little test, a similar test but different. We need both our white pencils again. So I have my Woomer first, and I'm doing 3 lines again. 1, 2, 3, and just check it, Prismacolor. 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to go over the top with a Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencil. Now let's just do this. There's the 3 lines, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, would you agree they're equal enough? Okay, now again, Washing my brush, just patting out the excess water. So I've gone up once, twice. Now on this side, once, twice. This is the Woomer, this is the Prismacolor. With my clean damp brush, I've been able to lift a little more. Let's do one last test here. This is the Woomer. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to go over the top with some genuine watercolor. Some lovely quinacridone magenta. You can get beautiful effects by using them as wax resist. Now, I didn't mention before that the paper I'm using for these tests is Fabriano 200 GSM Academia Draw and Sketch. Now let's have a look at Woomer's Black. So, first layer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm really pushing it in now. Okay, 8. As you can see, it's not really a rich black, but then again, most blacks aren't. All right, so what if we were to mix two colors to get a black? And I'm proposing dark brown and ocean blue. Let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now I'm going to press really hard. 7 and 8. So let's compare those. Of course, if I just to half of that add some more brown, there we have a warmer black and a cooler black. Might put some more blue on this side. I really like that. The colours really mix well. And now let's pull it all together and draw and paint a Wren. I'm using Balhong 300 GSM smooth hot pressed watercolor paper. Look at that. You would really expect this to break. Okay, so here is my pointy sharp white Woomer. I want to use this as an embosser and as a wax repel agent. So I'm coming in with the feathers, pressing hard, creating some textured effects for the feathers. And even outline some of these feathers. A dot into the eye and a little bit of a highlight on his head. A little bit here under the tail. And where else? Maybe a little bit on the beak. The next colour I want to use, this is Caribbean Sea. Now with my pencil on its side, going to colour that in. This is deep sky blue. I'm just going to sharpen it like this. Let's come around the eye. A little bit of dark in there. Let's go for a little bit of turquoise. Cobalt teal blue. Light ultramarine. I'm blending the colours here. Pale violet. Using the pencil on its side will really help you do the blending. I'm going to wash my brush and pat it out. It's just about dry, only slightly damp, and I'm going to blend this out a little bit. Okay, this is cornflower blue. I also want this one to be sharper. Okay, now before I do any more, let's do the eye. That's when our little creature comes to life. Use some burnt ochre, leaving a little gap for, and it should repel a little bit anyway. And then a little bit of ultramarine instead of black for the pupil of the eye. To make it a cooler black, I'm going to use the Van Dyke brown. Start with the blue. And let's come around the areas that are black. So blue first, and now coming on top with our dark brown. And a little bit lighter in here. Come in with a damp brush and just very gently blend that out. Remember how we embossed the feather detail on the tummy? Well, now it's time to work on that. And I'm using City Grey very lightly on its side, then using the brush on its side and gently dissolving the coloured pencil with a damp brush. As the pencil was very light in colour, you can't see much of the white, but enough to be able to work between it. Now I'm using light yellow ochre for the feathers, gently penciling across and then blending out with my damp brush. Now you start to see the little white lines that are defining the feathers. I'm using a little bit of a light salmon here up on top on his shoulders, and then a bit of orange, and then with a bit of a darker red. This is a bit of cornflower blue for his mantle, like a light purple. I've sharpened my ocean blue to work under the beak and add in some more details and then go over it with the dark brown. I'm pressing really, really hard so there is some residue of pencil. Putting a little bit of white on top of this now. Moving over to the wing with a light colouring of sienna brown. Now let's move in to our feathers. Well, we've got a tip on our City Grey, and you can see the whites, and now we just need to place a few darks between them. Now with the brush, going to blend this out a little bit so it's a bit fuzzy. And look, we are revealing the white again. It's really, really cool. The best way is to use the flat of the brush. Taking our white again, going to have some white ones, pressing really hard, and for the center stamen. And now coming on with some nice red. We need to have a nice fine point. So getting a nice fine point here, maybe some pink. Okay, so pink first. And now for the darker color. And especially where the shadow is in there. And now with our brush, we can make this sing a little bit with, let's spread it out to make them nice and fuzzy. And now let's wait for the white to reappear. I can tame the outside of this however I want to, but look, see the lovely white showing through. And then when this dries, I'm just going to blend that out and put a little bit of pink over the Wren. And then for the inside, a little bit of this green gold colour. I'm going to wait for that to dry off a little bit. Getting a nice point on the brown here. There we go. For a little bit of shadow underneath these feathers and separation. And look, it enhances the white. And we need those little Aola feathers up here. And now with some warm grey, I'm going to paint in a shadow under his wing in a jagged kind of way, exposing the lights of the feathers in a negative way. So therefore I paint around the little light bits of the feathers with the dark. You really can layer these colours. I'm now putting another brown, this is Van Dyke brown, on top of it. Probably I'd love to have a few more colours. It's a little bit on the warm side, so I'm going to dull it down with a little bit of grey. They got really tall, erect tails. my brush. And this one I'm going to make a little bit on the grey side. And I can also blend with the white. And we need a bit of a branch happening here. And let's just add some of these colours to the branch, just to make it a bit more unified and interesting. I don't find any problem going over while it's wet. It doesn't really cause a problem, I don't think. I really enjoyed that. Now let's try using a knife. The layers of wax scrape off beautifully to the white. Got some really nice fine details in there. Okay, so that was with the Woomers. Overall, I'm really happy with these pencils. For the price, you just can't go wrong. Do your own testing though. All papers yield different results, as do the way you tackle techniques. Just do it your way and have fun. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.